July 17, 2023. I have been doing a lot of reading and watching from YouTube. A lot of YouTube videos from India was enlightening. I'm quite surprised the amount of knowledge and wisdom being presented from India. I have put all the information together in my head and is now presenting the information to you, hoping, well, not hoping, maybe to provide some enlightenment as to my objective. I have been racking my head wanting to understand how to increase yield, and so I spent hours here, hours there, looking at information and educate myself. So the first thing I want to know is, how do we estimate rice yield per hectare? So I found out that we can actually determine the amount of plants planted per given area. So the equation is area, and then the distance between rows, and then the distance between plant to plant. The area is in square meter. Distance, of course, are in meters, and then plant to plant is in meters per plants. And of course, the amount of plants per given area can be calculated. We all know that a rice teller will provide panicle, and from the panicle, the spikelets, those grains that are, when mature, we eat. So I'm presenting what we need to understand to gather following data: the amount of tellers planted, that is to say, the initial plant, transplanting. This is actually called hills. I didn't know that, but it is a hill. And when you transplant, then there's a quantity of tellers. Could be 3, could be 5, could be 15, it could be more. And then, of course, as it matures, then spikelets are developed, and we want to know its mass and then the total mass of the hill. Now, the purpose of gathering data is how much to plant and the distance between rows and plant to plant distance. Once we know this, we can then go and figure out and say we want 300 sack of rice per hectare. Each sack is 50 kg, 50 kilogram. So extracting info from watching various YouTube and reading different websites, I am presenting an example with productive tellers. This is the productive tellers, not the transplanted ones, because from knowing the productive tellers, we can then backtrack and say, okay, I can plant so many tellers expecting to have a productive teller of 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 is actually the number that would transpire to be 300 sacks of rice per hectare. And we can quantify it, stuff like that. I won't go into that detail. You can read for yourself my thought. So as an example, we want to estimate yield with 10 tellers, productive tellers. And we go out into the field, or you can say, well, what if, suppose the mass of spikelet per teller is 2 grams. First of all, we calculate the amount of plants within a hectare. So you go through the calculation, 10,000 square meter divided by 0.2 is the row between rows, and 0.2 is row to row, or plant to plant, sorry. And we can calculate that we planted 250,000 plants per hectare. And suppose the mass of spikelet per teller is 2 grams. And then the total mass of grains per hill is this, 2 grams times 10, 10 being the teller. We can then estimate total mass per hectare. So multiply by 250,000 plants times 2 grams times 10 teller divided by 1,000 to convert to kilograms. So if we have 10 tellers, then the yield is 5,000 kg, or 100 sack per hectare with 10 tellers. Now suppose we have 15 tellers, productive tellers. Go through the equation. You're just changing this number. The rest remain. I mean, you can change any number, and you could actually put this in Excel spreadsheet, which I will in the future. And so now with 15 tellers, you will now have 7,500 kg, or 150 sack per hectare. As you can see, the more tellers, the more yield. Now suppose it's great. There's 20 tellers per hill. And so do the calculations. Now you're having 200 sack per hectare. Suppose it's 25 tellers. Now it's 250 sack per hectare. Now suppose 30. Now it's 300 sack per hectare. So ultimately, I will be playing with this number and look at raw data, actual data. What is actual data? I'm using this 2 grams just because, for example, only. It's something that I saw there in YouTube. They're using 1.6 grams, 2 grams. The lesser the number, of course, the lesser the yield. But that's all right. It's just an example. So now suppose we go 40 tellers. You can then change these numbers, row distance, plant to plant distance, and get a yield of 300. So by knowing this information, you could then say, okay, I can estimate by having these parameters to get me a yield of 300 sack per hectare. So that's the reason why I really wanted to dig into understanding the yield and the associated tellers, because by knowing this, you can change certain parameters to achieve one's objective of 300 sack per hectare. Thanks for watching.